Hey, Joe Gilder here. Got a question from Larry Sayer. Says, I would like to know how to increase followers on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, etc. I've got the music covered, but the social media could use some help. By the way, love your channel. It's awesome. And when I hear a question like that, part of me wants to just keep scrolling because I don't feel incredibly qualified to answer that because I feel like I'm still trying to figure that out. But I do have, we're just getting close to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's over 10 years, so perspective. But that is a number that I'm proud of and really thankful for. And as I kind of reflect back on how I got there, there's a couple of things. First of all, timing. And this is something you can't control, but I happened to start a YouTube channel when YouTube was young. It's 2009. I think YouTube came out in 2006. So it was starting to take off, but it was still just a platform to put your video so you could embed it on your website. It wasn't really a place people went for content too much. Now, I mean, YouTube, I didn't even have the YouTube app on my phone for years, but now it's like one of the things I go to, and all the people I subscribe to, their stuff shows up and I get to see it, which I'm guessing is how a lot of folks consume my content as well. So part of it was just I was on a platform that had a lot of attention, and I just, even if my stuff wasn't very good, it got attention because there just weren't a lot of people doing what I'm doing. So I guess the takeaway there is, can you be on platforms where there's maybe not a huge saturation of people? So for example, Facebook is fairly saturated at this point. Instagram kind of, maybe new apps like TikTok, which I've only looked at briefly, but maybe that's a place where you can really get a following because it's fairly new. That's not my expertise. I've just been listening to some people talk about that lately. But for me, the bigger picture is I've just created value. It's just like anything else. How do you get a gig with a band? I was thinking about this recently, different scenarios where I've been the new person in a group at a church, for example, this church we're a part of now. When we first went, I had been on staff at churches for a long time, so I was enjoying just going and not being involved in the music and just being able to participate without being in charge of something. It was great. Then eventually I meet with the pastor and the guy in charge of music, and they say, hey, would you like to come play music sometime? And then I do. And what happens? I do a good job. I provide value for them. The guy who invited me to come and to sing and play, he looks good. I know this feels tacky, but he looks good because he brought someone in who did a good job. He feels good about it. I feel good about it. Everybody feels good about it. So then they asked me to do it again. And now I'm actually that person. I'm on staff at this church now. But that, to me, it's about being good at your craft, which is kind of a given, and then finding ways to create value. I think that's just the fact that we're creating music doesn't necessarily mean it's valuable for people. And that's the place where I feel like there's a big question mark. Because for me, I've created value by, I've essentially been making music for the last 10 years, but I've been documenting the process and creating tutorials around that and helping other people make music. And that has gotten some attention for my music, but also just attention for me and Home Studio Corner as a brand that is helpful for people. So what does that mean for the average musician? Does it mean you need to create a tutorial website or a channel that just teaches people how to do stuff? I don't know, but value comes in like two forms when you're talking about creating content. And that can be written content, audio, like podcast content, music, video, images, things like that. But there's really two things it can do to create value. It's either useful, so it helps someone to do something, or it's entertaining. So it's helpful in one of those two ways. So it either entertains them, so it's great music, or it's a great video that just people want to share, or it's something that's helpful and useful. Like maybe this video is useful for you. So maybe you figure out a way to talk about what it is you do when you make music, how you go about writing your songs, document your process of creating the song. I think too many people, like even close friends of mine, they'll work on projects or albums. They won't talk about it on social media. They'll only post their meals on social media, pictures of their food and their kids. And then when the album comes out, they're like, buy my album, buy my album, buy my album. Album, 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 album. Album, 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 album. And then they stop talking about it and they move on. And they don't get a lot of attention because they're just yelling at people. They're not providing any value. They're saying, hey, get my thing, get my thing. I haven't done anything for you, but I want you to come get my thing. There's this concept of, you're a fireplace and I want you to give me heat. And then once you do that, I'm going to put wood on the fireplace. It doesn't work that way. You have to give first in order to receive. So if you feel entitled that people, just because you made this music, people should listen to it, or just because you made a video, people should watch it and share it, you're wrong. That's not a good reason. You don't operate that way. If I make a video that you think is bad, and I'm sure there are plenty that I've done that you're like, this wasn't very good, you're not going to share it. And I have no right to think you should. But if I make something that's so valuable that you think, oh, my buddy Jimmy would love this, I'm going to share it with him. Now I've done something for you and for Jimmy and roundabout for myself, because I've created value, and that's going to maybe create some future value for me in the future. It may only be that you share it with someone else and they come into my world and that makes my brand just a tiny bit bigger, or maybe that person ends up and hires me to mix their entire record. The whole idea is you give, not expecting and feeling entitled to get something in return. That's hard to do. Because ultimately, yes, we're wanting something to happen from it. But if you come from a place of giving and you just say, I'm going to create value for the world, trusting that something good will come, it's a better place to be than everything you give has like a string attached to it. And I've gone through phases where I attach strings to everything. Hey, here's a great video. Here's a piece of advice. Now come sign up to my email list. Not saying that's wrong, but you can ask too much. So if you find all you're doing on your social media, your whole social media strategy is just trying to get attention and not trying to provide value, that's where you need to spend your time. Rethink that. How are you going to provide value for people? How are you going to show up in a way where people will always read your post, will always click on your link, will always watch your video because you're always doing something good for them? Here's a cool example. Just thought about this. I've got a buddy. He's a musician. His name is Matt Wheeler. I can't pull him up right now. I don't even remember how we met. We've not met in person. We have some mutual friends. I think he found me through Home Studio Corner. Somehow we became Facebook friends. He does this thing on Facebook where he posts random facts with Matt. And it's a hashtag. And he will post just some random interesting fact. Today it was something about yesterday it was how cats have more bones in their body than humans by about 30. And I'm thinking it's just because of the tail. But anyway, he posts stuff like that, and it's always, sometimes it's historical, sometimes it's scientific, sometimes it's just super random, and they're always really interesting. And he shows up in my feed. I'm sure I've missed some of them, but when I go to Facebook, if he's posted one, I see it. Not because he asked me to click something, not because he said, hey, be sure to subscribe and make sure you see all my posts, none of that stuff. Just because he created something interesting that provides entertainment value to me, and even a little bit of knowledge value, and then I then keep reading them, keep clicking and reading the comments or whatever, so that Facebook recognizes that I'm always paying, like I'm scrolling and I'm stopping when I see Matt Wheeler because I want to see what he has to say. It's, 15 seconds of my day, but I think Facebook knows when I stop. And Facebook says he likes that. I'm going to keep showing him that. So Matt shows up more and more. It's kind of like on YouTube when I just recently got a phone. And so I was researching it, trying to figure out if I wanted to get it, all that. And so I was looking up this phone. And now, if I open up my YouTube, I'm guaranteed it's going to show me something about this phone because that's what I've been looking at lately. Look, the very first Jim Gaffigan iPhone. So just because that's what I've been looking at, it started to show me more like that. Or if I watch a bunch of videos from a particular person, YouTube starts showing me that person's videos because it thinks I like them, and it's probably right. So it's all these algorithms out there. We talk about the algorithms like they're evil. Oh, they're hiding my posts. It's because your posts are boring and people don't care. If your posts are really engaging and people are reading them, then the algorithm will show it to them because it's in the algorithm's best interest to keep you on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. That's what you have to think about. So if you're actually providing value, not gaming the system, not tricking things, not using cute strategies, but you're actually putting out something that someone else wants to see, that's how you're going to increase engagement and followers. You may not get 1 million followers. You may just get 200 folks that are really into what you're doing. And that can be okay, right? You have to think about why you're doing it. Think about value. Think about what are they going to want to see. And then just rinse and repeat. You won't know. I don't ever know what videos of mine are going to do well. I really don't. I'll have an idea sometimes, but it's always a surprise. And when I see how the market, how you react to those videos or emails that I send out, I'll send out an email that I think is amazing and just kind of nothing. Then I'll send another one out that I think is just okay, and I'll get 50 replies back. Oh, this was amazing. Thank you for sharing this. I never know, but the only way to find out is to do it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and then pay attention to the response and then adjust what you're doing based on that. You don't have to have the answers out of the gate. You can't have the answers out of the gate, but you can start trying things and then see what happens and then start trying some more. Create value, make their life better somehow. That's how you start to gain a following. Great question. Hope this was helpful. Leave a comment if you have more questions. See ya.